Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through life as if reality bends around them, while the rest of us struggle, hustle, and push only to see little real change? What if I told you the difference between the extraordinary 5% and the stagnant 95 isn't luck, talent, or privilege? It's something far more subtle, and yet infinitely more powerful. It's the way they use their imagination, the way they assume, and the way they feel. Reality is not responding to you as much as it is obeying you. That statement might sound outrageous, but think about it for a moment. Every morning you wake up in a world that looks solid and immovable. Bills arrive in the mail. Jobs demand your time. People act the way they always do. But what if this so-called solid world is nothing more than a mirror? And like any mirror, it only reflects what is standing in front of it. If that's true, then trying to wrestle with circumstances is like standing in front of the bathroom mirror and trying to change your reflection without ever changing your face. Futile, endless, exhausting. The true shift begins when you realize that the material world is the final stage of a process, not the starting point. Everything you see right now is the delayed effect of thoughts, feelings, and assumptions planted weeks, months, or even years ago. The job you have, the relationship you're in, the way you feel about money, your body, your worth, none of this is random. None of it is an accident. It's the harvest of seeds planted in your subconscious long ago. And here's the truth that almost no one is willing to accept. You are not reacting to life, you are producing it. Moment by moment, thought by thought, feeling by feeling, you are selecting from an infinite field of possibilities and collapsing them into your lived reality. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is the practical law of creation, one that mystics taught for centuries and modern science has been slowly catching up to. Consider the law of reversibility. It tells us that every cause is interchangeable with its effect. Heat produces movement, but movement also produces heat. Magnetism generates electricity, and electricity generates magnetism. If a physical state can produce a psychological feeling, then a psychological feeling can, by necessity, produce a physical state. Think about that. If fear can cause your body to tremble, then deliberately producing a state of calm and security must eventually produce conditions in your life that match. Consciousness always precedes the external, but most people never discover this secret. From childhood, we're trained to live backwards. We're taught that the world out there is primary and that we must fight, strive, and claw at external circumstances to change anything. We're told that success is rare, that money is scarce, that health is fragile, and that happiness is conditional. And so billions of people live their entire lives trying to rearrange the reflection in the mirror without ever daring to adjust their own image. The result? A life of struggle, repeating the same cycles, fighting battles that were lost before they even began. It's not because people are weak or lazy. It's because they've been conditioned to believe in a fundamental illusion, that the outside world is in charge. But here's the reality. Every nourished emotion is a seed, and every image you sustain with feeling is a future waiting to be born. You've heard people say, see it to believe it. The truth is the opposite. Believe it to see it, and belief isn't some airy concept floating in your head. Belief is assumption fused with feeling. That's what the subconscious responds to. That's what shapes your world. Let me share a story. There was a salesman who could never make more than $5,000 a year, no matter how hard he worked. It wasn't his effort, his skill, or his territory that limited him. It was his subconscious self-image. Through daily visualization, he began to assume himself as the kind of man who earned more. He rehearsed success, not failure. He saw himself closing deals, not losing them. Within a year, without changing jobs, without moving cities, he was making 4 times as much. Why? Because his subconscious thermostat had been reset. He wasn't fighting against the mirror anymore. He was changing his face. The same principle explains why so many lottery winners lose everything within a few years. The external wealth exceeded their inner set point. The subconscious couldn't sustain it. And so reality snapped back, like a rubber band pulled too far. This is why real transformation doesn't start with circumstances. It starts with identity. So, how do we change identity? How do we reprogram the subconscious? The answer is simpler than you might think, but it requires persistence. The subconscious doesn't respond to vague desires like, I want to be rich or I want to be happy. It needs specificity. It needs sensory detail. It needs to feel real. Imagine you're shaking hands with your friend who congratulates you on your promotion. Hear their exact voice. Feel the warmth of their hand. Smell the air in the room. The more detailed, the more emotional, the more convincing it becomes. To your subconscious, there's no difference between that vivid imagination and lived reality. This is why techniques like revising the day are so powerful. At night, just before sleep, replay the events of your day but rewrite them as they should have gone. If you argued with someone, see the moment ending in harmony. If you failed at something, see it turn into success. Do it with feeling, not as idle fantasy but as the definitive version. The subconscious doesn't argue, it accepts, and it will rearrange circumstances, even the past, to make it so. Of course, doubts will arise. Old patterns will fight back. The bigger the shift, the louder the resistance. But don't battle those thoughts head-on. Fighting only gives them power. Instead, return gently, persistently to your chosen scene. Like water dripping on stone, persistence carves the impossible into possible. Not with force, but with quiet certainty. And this brings us to the most sobering realization. Whether you know it or not, you are always creating. You don't get to opt out. Every thought, every assumption, every feeling is a command to your subconscious. The only choice you have is whether to create consciously or by default. Whether to inherit the same limiting loops passed down by family, culture, and society, or to step into deliberate authorship of your own story. Look around. How many geniuses died unknown? How many masterpieces were never painted? How many lives were never lived fully because their creators never realized that the so-called real world was never the cause? They fought shadows, never realizing they were the ones projecting them. But you have the chance to step out of the prison. And here's the most liberating part. The door was never locked. The jailer was always you. And the key is imagination, wielded with feeling. Now, I want you to pause and ask yourself a question. If you knew with absolute certainty that your sustained inner images and feelings would manifest, what would you dare to assume? What would you allow yourself to feel right now? Who would you choose to be? Because that's all it takes. Choose, assume, feel, persist, and reality with mathematical precision will bend. This is not mysticism. This is the instruction manual of human consciousness, one that elites have known and used for centuries, while the masses were taught to believe in luck, fate, and chance. Advertising, rituals, symbols, all tools of subconscious influence. If others have been using these laws on you, isn't it time to use them for yourself? Your life, your destiny, your future, it's not waiting to be handed to you by chance. It's waiting to be assumed by you. And the moment you take responsibility, the moment you dare to imagine with conviction, the game changes forever. You stop being a victim of the mirror and you finally realize you are the one projecting the light.